Hey, my name's Cam and I've been travelling around Australia meeting cool people doing cool shit to protect the natural world. I initially thought my chat with Oli Costello from Jagun Alliance, an organisation that uses land management and building resilience back in the country, mainly through the use of cultural fire as an educational tool, to be focused on exactly that, how First Nations people use fire for land management. But as I went for a walk on Bundjalung Country with Oli, our conversation touched on this and so much more. He spoke about the importance of caring for country, how we can be better custodians for our own lands, and how connecting to nature is vital in combating climate change, something First Nations people have been doing for over 60,000 years. It really shifted my perspective on society's relationship with the natural world. I'm sure it will yours.
Act local!
Jagun. Am I pronouncing it right? And what does it mean?
That's why I say it, Jagun. Jagun means country in Bundjalung.
Yes.
And like here where we are, this is Bundjalung Jagun, here, Bundjalung Country. This is on the lands of the Widjabul people, the mobs of the Bundjalung Nation. Always really important to acknowledge the mob, the Widjabul mob here, Bundjalung mob, but also all the ancestor trees and all the plants and animals, they're all the custodians for this place too. So Jagun Alliance, Aboriginal corporation, is all about bringing people together to care for country. Through colonisation, we've seen a massive impact on our ability as Aboriginal people to be able to maintain those practices. Things like fire management and a lot of like different cultural species management and things like that. You know, and we've got lots of Aboriginal organisations doing Indigenous protected area and ranger work and bush regen and mob that are doing stuff and mob that want to do stuff. And so we're just trying to get in and support everyone to like work together and get projects and get funding that can help. And Jagun sort of come a bit out of the Fire Sticks initiative, which was a leadership project that I started. Yeah, learn from the old people and get more cultural fire back into sort of southeastern Australia, and really just engage a lot of landholders and stakeholders around the role of cultural fire in not just like reducing the impacts of bushfires. The intent is really caring for country. There's different types of fire, you know. There's like fire that's sort of like just maintenance fire. It's like the country's pretty healthy, you just burn it at the right time and it kind of burns itself. And it's just like, because the kinship's there, the different forest types and the canopy, and it's kind of functioning, you know. You just got to get the timing right. Other times it's like all sick and you got to like, you know, really work hard to repair it. It hasn't been burned a long time. It takes, you know, it's too hard to even get fire into it. And other times just been burnt and everyone says, oh, don't burn it. It's just all the birds and animals and all the trees are gone. Leave it. And it's like, big fire's going to come again if you don't.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like now's the time because we won't be able to burn it in a couple of years. It'll be too hard. We've got to start now. Not everywhere.
No.
But the fires, some of these areas are hundreds of millions of hectares. You know, there's huge areas, and we're just saying, oh, we just want to like burn our pathway, find our campsite, start to get the kinship back in there, and the animals will follow. You know, and then we can start to burn in the corridors and the pathways and. You know, and then when the fire comes, it changes its way, you know, because fire like a snake, you know. And so when the snake comes in, it goes, I've got to go around. So that's why the main reason old people use fire was to heal the land, because they didn't have to worry so much about fire burning them out like today, because they didn't have all the houses and roads and all the different industry that we have now. Because most fire management today is about reducing fuel. It's hard for people to conceive because the land's all been cleared and different trees have grown and stuff. But yeah, people just used to have all these pathways and important areas for food, for gathering, for ceremony, and they're all like fire or water pathways. They're all like, you know, like you walk along the river or you paddle along the river. And so that's what Jagun's trying to do, is really just connect people up to those old pathways. And you know, it's a physical thing, like, you know, we're here in the forest or we're up on the hill, but it's a spiritual thing as well, because it's about the connection to the land and the species and learning the stories. Get more young Bundjalung and other Aboriginal people out onto the country, learning the old ways, learning cultural practices that are good for the land, because they're good for everybody.
Who does land management at mass now? And what are they getting wrong compared to what you guys are teaching?
The main people really like national parks. And I started out in national parks as an Aboriginal cadet in the joint management team doing Aboriginal partnerships. Most of the people I meet in there, you know, like really care about country and they want to do the right thing by people. The way that the systems have been designed based on like sort of colonial concepts of economy and land management. So like most of the basis for a lot of conservation is based on like Western science and concepts of people being bad for nature. And to be honest, a lot of people are bad for nature. Like people are destroying the planet, you know, like we've actually like created climate change through, you know, like doing the wrong thing on country.
Yeah, being dicks, basically.
Yeah, but like we're in control. Like people don't realize like we did that. Like we're like so powerful that we can change the atmosphere. But I think that big reason why people have done all this bad stuff is because they've lost that connection to the stories and the places. You talk to any First Nations people, we don't want to separate ourselves. We don't want to say, oh, you know, there's nature and then there's like society. We're a part of it together. This is our family. Like all the trees and the plants, they're our ancestors. And it's like everybody learns that the trees make the oxygen, eh?
Yeah,
like photosynthesis and that.
Yeah, it's so like biology.
So all the energy comes, you know, the sun comes up.
Yeah.
And all, you know, and it makes everything grow. Without those trees, we can't breathe. They're our ancestors. Like our body's made up of all this stuff. People are removing themselves from that. As people, you want to be able to try and give back more to country than it gives you. And it's like, well, how do you do that? It's like, well, when you're young, you get everything. You know, your mother births you, you know, the trees give you the air, the water, you know, like the family provide the food, you know. And as you get older, if you listen to the old people and you learn from the trees and the plants and animals, you learn that there's things that you do that can help them and can hurt them. And so you start listening to the old people and they tell you what to do. And then over time, you start to pay back what you've been given. But where you actually start to really give back more to country than you take is when you become the teacher and you teach the young people. So, you know, like, this is what I'm doing, and then I teach all these other people. I've given back more and they're paying it forward. You know, there's never been a better time than now. Like all over the world, everyone's realizing that, you know, like we've done the wrong thing, we've caused climate change. Not everyone believes in it,
no.
but you don't hear so many people talk about that now because we've seen all these massive fires and massive floods. So people are not only going, oh, we've done the wrong thing, we've got food insecurity, water insecurity, we've got these big droughts, big fires, big floods, and a lot of people are being impacted. A lot of people are like physically lost their home or died, and then a lot of other people know people. So more and more people are starting to go, what's going on here? You know, and so we've never had a better time for people to wake up. But I just think the first classroom should be like places like this. People should learn how energy works, how ecosystems work, how cultural frameworks work, you know, like, because it's an economy. You know, this is an economy here. And we don't want to put a price on it because it's priceless. It's worth a lot to us, and we're paying the price, you know, because people have been taking too much. We've made a lot of mistakes in this landscape. A lot of the food, you know, like these forests used to just pump with food. The wetlands, like, you know, we had cakadoos that are now paddocks and acid sulfate, you know, soils. So when the water gets trapped in there with the floodgates, and then when it floods, all the fish die. Mm-hmm. It used to be like a fish factory, a bird factory, and now it's dead. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, and then, yeah, and we're clearing land to grow things. It's like we had all the food, but people didn't know how the system works, you know, and they wanted to sell food back to, you know, like all this area was first cleared by the cedar getters, and then they went on to other timber, and they didn't really clear it. They were just logging, taking all the big timbers. They didn't care. They didn't cut all the other stuff down. Yeah. It would get smashed by the bullocks or the trees or whatever. They weren't wasting their time. They were chasing for the red gold, the cedar, and then they went for the other things, you know. And then after that, the dairy farmers come in, and that's where the families I grew up in, they were all dairy farmers. Land, if you could come and clear it, and you could raise cattle and make milk, you could turn into butter and send it to England. And so you get money. So, but there was already an economy here for food and fibre, and, you know, that is a different market. But if we had looked after it, we'd be wealthier here than we are now, because where'd all that money go? Totally. Where is it now? So much wealth has just been extracted from these landscapes, and I just think we need to pay it back. I think people that want to be custodians, you know, like, they're not all going to come out and burn and learn from us, but, you know, there's other ways they can contribute, you know, and we just want people to be a part of that story. This river should be clean, should be clear, but it's so muddy, and that's because, like, as you go up the river, people have cattle in the creek, like in the river. But it's not just dirt, it's chemicals, pesticides, fertilizers, you know. But it's also like, this is the thing, like, you know, sure, we get angry at the farmers and that, but we eat their food, you know. Like I like to eat the food that they offer. So I just really want them to, like, support them to be doing it better, you know. We're not saying stop doing it, changing their practice, you know. And often it's not even really going to be hard for them, you know. It's really just being supported, educated, you know. But for example, like the the neighbours on the other side here have made a commitment to restoring the land. So they've fenced all the river and they've planted rainforest trees all through it. So people that look after the land and keep the cattle out, and they plant the right trees, the trees that belong here and the plants that belong here, and just give some of that back to country. You've got a big block of land, a little bit at least, I'd say a lot more, but a little bit at least, can give back to the country. And hopefully one day we'll come here and the water will be clear, and all the farmers and everyone that lives on the river will be better off too. They'll feel good about themselves, they'll be still making a living. Even just for the farmer, they need the good soil, like they need like carbon and nutrients and like healthy soil. It's all just washing away. They're losing their land. Like, land is worth a lot of money here, and every time you have these big floods and you lose a centimetre or a metre, suddenly like that land's worth a lot of money, and all the nutrients, all the elements just washing out to the sea, and making the sea sick. It's like, they're going to get fatter cows, they're going to get bigger nuts, and just by looking after the land and keeping the nutrients in the elements in the land, not in the river. The cultural knowledge belongs to the traditional custodians. They may choose to share bits with people, but anyone can come and sit here under the tree and learn from the tree, and like spend time on country and start to learn and think about the way that they communicate. When you come into a place and you're not from there, have a think about what you're bringing. Have a think about why are you there? What are you going to do there? You come here to take stuff, or you come here to give stuff? Everybody can think like that, and just be respectful in the way you communicate, and so you don't you don't have to learn all the cultural protocols for everywhere in the world to be a respectful person that will be careful about where you tread and what you say.
Totally.
And be like feel that when you ask a question and someone responds in a way, you think, oh, maybe I'm not asking the right question, or maybe I shouldn't be asking that question, or they're just like, it's emotional intelligence. The trees, they all teaching us that story too about just, and that's why we always acknowledge country, and often we light a fire, or we wait for we say people like humans, but also for animals and trees as well. So I wait for some people to show you.
A special thanks to Oli from the Jagun Alliance for spending a few hours on country with me. Super special experience. If you know another local legend doing cool shit to protect the natural world, comment their name down below and I'll get in touch with them. Love ya.